Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Mike Voice podcast, a Friday edition. Hope you're having a good day. You might catch this on the commute, or if you're just lonely, you might catch it at midnight in your basement, which I'm good with whatever. I'm just glad you're tuning in and subscribing because the podcast is doing very well. I couldn't help myself doing a podcast about this Dr. Ian Roberts. I'm a doctor, too. You're a doctor, too. We could all be doctors. So not sure if you guys are tracking this. You should be tracking this. We're looking at this case of Mr. Doctor, whatever you want to call him, Ian Roberts. How about illegal immigrant overstaying his visa, Roberts? A high-profile $300,000 a year. So allegedly, this Ian Roberts is an educator originally from Guyana, not to be confused with Ghana. They're close. He built a career in U.S. public education leadership. He was like a teacher, a principal, and then he was hired as the superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools in Iowa. Like, by the way, the whitest place I've ever been in my life is Iowa. Like, the whitest. I thought Utah was why. I actually need to look that up, but it is the whitest place on the planet. And he became the superintendent. The largest school district in Iowa. He was in charge of it all. $300,000 a year, guys. He's often been referred to as Dr. Ian Roberts, especially during the protests where they said, "Free Dr. Roberts, free Dr. Roberts." In other news, even the education board that hired him referred to him, even after discovering, guess what? Is it surprising? His entire resume is fake. The entire thing, they still called him Dr. Roberts. And it says, in fact, Morgan State University, which Roberts claimed awarded him a doctorate degree, says he didn't receive that degree. During his hiring process in Des Moines, the school district was reportedly alerted to this discrepancy and revised his resume to reflect the degree was not completed. He said he never did his dissertation. Actually, he never did the degree at all. So let's back up a little bit and just talk about the immigration side of this story. Roberts came to the U.S. on a student visa, which is known as an F-1 visa, in 1999. He maintained employment authorization until 2020. Was on the up and up. At some point, immigration authorities placed him in removal or deportation proceedings. In May of 2024, a final order of removal was issued in his absence under the Biden administration. So all these protests that are saying Trump is a fascist, deporting good human beings, including Dr. Roberts, the order was issued under the Biden administration. That's correct. A motion to reopen those proceedings was denied in April of 2025. Then on September 26, ICE agents arrested Roberts in Des Moines. According to ICE, they went to pull him over, and guess what he did? He fled, abandoned his vehicle, and was apprehended after assistance from State Patrol. On his person, he had a loaded handgun. I saw it. I think it was a Glock 19 with a hollow sun optic. He had 3 G's in cash and a knife. They say hunting knife. I don't even know what that means. It's a knife. A search of his residence reportedly yielded additional firearms. A pistol under a chair cushion, a rifle in a bedroom closet, and a shotgun behind a headboard. I wonder what else they're going to find. Shortly thereafter, federal prosecutors filed a criminal complaint charging him with being an illegal alien in possession of firearms. As a result of his arrest, the Iowa Board of Educational Examiners revoked his administration license, rendering him ineligible to serve as superintendent. So all of the outrage that came out right after Dr. Roberts from Guyana, a DEI hire, turns out everything he said, everything he did was a fraud. I've reported on this many times before, talking about the threat to national security is twofold. One, illegal immigrants who migrated here with malice intent. Two, illegal immigrants who are here taking advantage of the system in positions of power. That could be a truck driver who's doing an illegal U-turn on a freeway, killing 3 innocent people. That could be an airline pilot flying your plane. Do we forget the lessons of September 10th, where 19 hijackers, whom many of them attended Embry-Riddle and got education and technical training on how to fly an airplane. There are certain things foreigners should never be able to do. Now, when they become legal citizens, they can do whatever they want. But how is it that this dude was a teacher, then a principal of an entire school, and nobody knew that he was in a position of authority with false accreditations on his resume that they knew about, and they allowed him to become the head superintendent in charge of 30,000 students? Let's just back up slightly and look at this 2022 gun charge. One of the critical pieces of Robert's public profile is this 2022 gun charge. Now, I will say, like, the fact that he was in Pennsylvania in 2021, December of 2021, and he was hunting. Like, okay, there's a lot of things I don't like about this guy. He's a scam artist, for sure. He's a DEI hire, for sure. He's not a doctor, and he's a criminal, for sure. But he's a hunter. So let's give him one positive for being a hunter. After a hunting session, a game warden cited him for having a loaded firearm inside of his vehicle, a violation of Pennsylvania law. Now, what's interesting about this, he pled guilty in January of 2022, paid a $100 fine, $94.42 in court cost, and some sources note that Pennsylvania offense was treated as a minor infraction. In his public explanations, Roberts said he was a licensed gun owner and that he placed the unloaded rifle in his vehicle seat so the officer wouldn't feel threatened when approaching. So I do believe you can get a firearm in this country if you're here on a visa. Actually, I should look that up. Okay, so you should know, usually the answer is no. As a non-immigrant visa holder, tourists, most students, many temporary work visas are generally prohibited from possessing, receiving, transporting, or buying firearms. But there are specific statutory exceptions and limited waivers. If you're a green card holder, you're treated differently. LPRs are generally not covered by the non-immigrant prohibition and may possess firearms, subject to other disqualifying factors in state law. You can apply to ATF for a waiver, but waivers are discretionary and require paperwork. So you might be able to own a firearm in this particular case. So he might have had a hunting rifle or a hunting shotgun. He might have been on a bird hunt. I don't know if there's birds in Guyana, but I mean, this was a minor infraction. So he said, Roberts quoted, "I was a licensed gun owner, and he placed the unloaded rifle in his vehicle seat so the officer wouldn't feel threatened when approaching." He also suggested that racial dynamics may have played a role in how the citation was issued. Of course. I just love how that's always part of the narrative. It's always part of the narrative. Let's be clear. The charge was not a felony. It was a summary offense handled in local courts, not a major weapons prosecution. Now, I feel like if that was an American, if that was me, that would be. They would like come down hard and heavy. I feel like if you're here on a visa, a temporary visa, a work visa, and you literally have a gun in your possession, that should not be allowed. But for some reason, again, a minor infraction. This prior case is now part of the public scrutiny around Roberts, especially given his more serious federal firearm charges tied to his ICE arrest. Look, the key issues are this. One, his resume credibility and integrity. Roberts' misrepresentation regarding the doctorate degree, claiming one he did not complete, and them just, let's just go with it. It casts doubts on his transparency and truthfulness, but most significantly, the education hiring process. Here's what I know. Nobody's going to be held accountable for this, and everybody should. You're telling me the most significant positions of power over children, and apparently that's not done. Next, hiring practices and background checks. So when Roberts was hired in Des Moines, according to the Board of Education, he went through a background check. He filed out a Form I-9 attesting to his work eligibility. However, later investigation revealed that some of his educational claims were flagged and adjusted. Who flagged them? And more importantly, who adjusted them? Immigration and legal status complexity. The fact that Roberts managed to stay in high-level educational roles for years while lacking valid work authorization since 2020 raises questions about how his status was or was not monitored by employing institutions. Have you heard the statement from the Board of Education? When they first came out, they said basically, we stand by Dr. Roberts. Then they came out and was like, we are victims of Dr. Roberts. Oh, by the way, they called him Dr. Roberts when they said they are victims of Dr. Roberts. He's not a doctor. Stop. Stop with the insanity. Also, the escalation from a minor local infraction to federal charges. The gun charge in 2022 was a relatively minor infraction. But now Roberts faces serious federal allegations. I mean, in the charges, he didn't even catch a charge for fleeing. I mean, maybe the obstruction charge was fleeing. So Robert faces serious federal allegations tied to firearm possession while illegally present in the U.S. If you were a felon and you had a firearm, that's like a 5-year minimum. So this guy's here illegally, a criminal, basically on the run, and they catch him, and then he flees. He flees, and they roll him up. You guys seen that mugshot, by the way? If you haven't, here it is. Wabam. The intersection of race, immigration enforcement, and public trust is an issue here because Roberts is a black immigrant leading an urban school district. Urban. That's pretty funny. Is it urban? It's Iowa. His case has stirred strong reactions in both education and political spheres. How much of this issue is about criminality and how much is it about identity and enforcement? I think the overwhelming majority of the country just wants the basics done. You know, the definitions of biology, the science, the law and order. We just want the basics here. And so he entered the country legally. He overstayed his visa, and now he's here illegally. He scammed the entire school district. They found out about some of the stuff, and they just wrote it off because he was a DEI hire, and they let him get away with it. This dude made more than all of the people making the decisions on his hiring. $300,000. How many Americans would love to be in that position? Lastly, the due process and media narratives. As with many high-profile cases, media reports sometimes conflate allegations with proven facts. For sure, every single left-leaning news organization came out and highlighted the travesty this was. How this is a proven point that the Trump administration, despite it being the Biden administration who set the precedent, and I don't know, if you look at the statistics of how many people have deported under Obama, way more. And so when you look at the allegations with proven facts, it turns out only a couple days later, everything the media initially came out with, all of the, I thought it to myself when I watched this protest video, and everybody's out there saying, "Release Dr. Roberts," and they're chanting. And I'm thinking to myself, they must have not gotten the memo. This dude is a fraud. He literally is not a doctor, and he was a scam artist in charge of your children's education. How do you like them apples? That's like supporting a pilot who's flying you, and you land and you find out he got rolled up, and then you hold a protest sign, "Free Pilot Roberts, Free Pilot Roberts," and somebody comes out and says, hey, I don't know if you knew this, but Pilot Roberts never knew how to fly a plane. He was just winging it. What? How much are you going to support him? Hell, if he gets out, you're going to jump back in a plane with him? The answer is no. And you might regret every single instance that you were involved in that or flying on that plane. It's the same thing with these kids. How many kids were in harm's way? I wonder if they do a background investigation asking the kids, because I saw the videos. Dr. Roberts walking around giving knuckles and pounds to kids, building rapport. Okay, maybe he was a good person around the kids, or was he? Because obviously he's a scam artist. Obviously the things that he said were not true. Lastly, Ian Roberts is a case that is still unfolding. There's more to follow in this. There are many moving parts: immigration law, criminal charges, professional ethics, education, oversight. You think? What is clear is that he misrepresented at least one major credential, his doctorate claim. Apparently, it's coming out this morning, in fact. I just saw it right before I went in here, that everything on his resume was a lie. He actually said that he was given a Educator of the Year award or Principal of the Year award from a specific institution. The institution got back with the board and said, we don't even give that award. Doesn't exist. So it turns out that likely everything on his resume was a lie. See, that makes you wonder. You see the cases of like the doctors from India. There are programs where doctors from abroad can come here and practice. And I think there's a crossover period and process where they have to go through certain things. But can you imagine taking your child, unbeknownst to you, that the doctor that's in that hospital has a medical degree from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, from India? Okay, so I want to know for sure that the institutions that our taxpayer dollars pay the salaries for, at a minimum, are checked and balanced. How hard is that? Is that too hard to ask as an American citizen? Is that too hard to ask as an American citizen? I don't think so. So over the coming weeks, we'll find out more from the legal team, the evidence, and I don't think this is going to be the end of this. I wanted to come out and do this because I've been thinking about it for the last several days, and I'm like, I can't believe this. And I can't believe Iowa's position on this. Playing dumb. These people are just playing dumb. It's silly. Look, if you're playing the long game as a foreign adversary, you're not infiltrating into this country and popping off with suicide attacks. You might be coming into this country with specific objectives and agendas to even get into positions of power and influence. That's the long game that foreign adversaries that are superpowers are playing. That's the game China is playing. And we got to think about that. Because how many Dr. Roberts exist in this country? We shall see. We shall see.